Well, welcome back, everybody. Glad you could make it. Well, we're letting everybody just get in. Please find the questions box and drop in where you're calling from. Just say hi. We're just going to run a few quick polls. Both Pat and Dan have a lot of slides to cover today, so we're going to, give them as much time as possible. So we're going to run those polls through pretty quick. But let's just get started right now. We will launch. So, do you take over or upgrading existing sites with hardwired devices? Nice, easy question. And we'll give it about 25, 30 seconds to get everybody a chance to vote. So far, it's 100% saying you are taking over and upgrading existing sites with wires. So that is awesome. And this presentation should be very interesting to everybody. So yeah, just over 95%. That's great. All right, we're going to close that one off. And we will launch the second poll. So when you are doing new installs, are you using or are you doing hardwired devices on those installs? Okay, so it's pretty even split so far, 50-50. Definitely moving up, closer to 68%. 66% yes, using new or on new installs using hardwired devices. That's great. Okay, we'll close that one off. Do you want to be able to use existing wiring for keypads? So it's a yes or no, or didn't know this was an option. Okay, so just about 90% want to be able to use existing wiring for keypads. Well, then this is definitely the webinar you want to attend. So that's awesome. So we'll just give that 2 more seconds. We'll close that one off. 2 more quick ones, and we are on our way. Have you used DLS5 to upgrade the firmware on the IQ Hardwire PowerG or the PG9 WLS HW8 module before? Yes, no, or have never used DLS? All right, so 55% no. 28% have used DLS5 and 18% have upgraded modules before, but we still have about a quarter of the attendees who have never used DLS5. Interesting. All right, we're going to close that one off. And last but not least, nice easy one. Are you planning on attending ISE West? All right. So while we're letting that poll close, please, at some point find the handouts. There's a QR code that we've dropped in the handouts. For those who don't know, Dan sends out a lot of tech tips on a monthly basis. So all of his tech tips relating to the IQ Hardwire PowerG module are actually, if you find that, again, find those handouts, scan that QR code, you'll have access to be able to get into those, his folder and be able to, see those tech tips that relate to this module. So I'm going to close this poll off. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'm going to hand this off to Dan and Pat.
Thank you, Neil. Welcome. My name is Dan Johnson. I'm a technical accounts manager for JCI. I have 7 states in the upper Midwest. So hopefully you're in those states. If not, there's other people in our organization that covers the US and the globe. So Patrick, who are you?
Yep. I'm Pat Holtman, and I would be in the real Midwest, not the North Midwest, and cover those states a little south of Dan. So I'm also a technical account manager, and we're excited to share some new stuff with you guys today.
Good deal. We got lots to cover. We're going to talk about the IQ Hardwired PowerG module. It has 2 part numbers. As we can see here, there is a PG 8 or 9 WLS HW8 and the PG 8 or 9 HRDW8. These are the 2 enclosures that house the same module. So as we talk about the IQ Hardwired PowerG module, it's the same module in both enclosures. It's just what you want to do with it. Patrick, you want to start here?
Yeah, so let's talk about that current offering that we've had out here for a little bit now, and some of the things it supports. So it will support up to 2 of your traditional Neo HS2 LCD hardwired keypads. and also has built-in support for 8 hardwired zones. In addition, it'll do your 2-wire smoke detector support over the PGM2. Things to keep in mind are your power, and Dan's going to dive into that a little bit deeper later on. It does have a siren output that follows your correct temporal pattern, as well as PGM supports, which are actually really cool on the Qolsys platform. It allows you to do even some more building of those PGMs, and that will work on the IQ Panel 2 Plus, the IQ Hub, and the IQ4, and supports that 12-volt, 7-amp-hour battery. Go ahead, Dan. And then looking at the HRDW8, the IQ Hardwire PowerG module here, again, like Dan had noted earlier, it has the same features. And if you want to hit the next slide there, Dan, the biggest difference is that it just has a larger enclosure. So it gives you a little bit more space, and Dan will share some pictures of that as we keep moving along. So the big thing we're excited to announce is on Monday, we announced the version 1.2 of the translator. So started out on 1.0, went to 1.1, and now we're at 1.2. The biggest things that it adds is the ability to do 40 hardwired zones per module, up to 2 modules. So you can add the Neo 2108 modules to that and get your total zone count. In addition, you can add a power supply in case your power demands have increased. Just don't forget to order an enclosure and a battery and a transformer to go with that. It's easy to update. One of the poll questions asked if you were aware of DLS5 and how to do that. Dan's actually going to share some information on how to do that here in a few slides. So if you're going to use version 1.2, make sure that your panel is, if it's an IQ4, on version 4.1. IQ2 Plus, it will be on version 2.7.0, which will come out around the beginning of April. And then on the IQ Hub, it'll be version 3.1 that will come out in May. One of the cool things with the PowerG translator is it will work on every one of the panels. Some of you may be familiar with the 16F, which required the gold box. The cool thing with this new PowerG wired to wireless module is no matter which flavor of our panel you get, it will work on all of them. Dan, you want to dive in a little bit deeper on some of that?
On this slide here, basically the IQ4 is going to be a dual frequency module. They all have the PowerG, and then as Pat said, each one of these colored bands will signify the 319.5, the 433, or the 345 legacy frequencies. So the translator that we're talking about today, the IQ Hardwired PowerG, will be supported by all 3 platforms. All right, let's get into some of the installation aspect of this. This is the smaller enclosure for it, but each control panel has the mounting holes that you screw to the wall. They all support a 7-amp-hour battery. They'll have a transformer that you can wire in. We have updated the transformer to be a plug-in rather than an extension cord style. So you'll see that up and coming as well. There is a wall tamper available that if you wanted to tamper this enclosure, so if somebody peels it off the wall, you can secure that down with a screw if you choose to use the wall tamper function. This module is tampered for the lid and the back wall tamper in the application. With saying that, this module must reside inside the plastic enclosure that we offered and should not reside in any other metal can because it is the wireless transceiver. As Neil mentioned in the chat, there is this QR code, and if you want to take a snapshot of that or grab that with your phone, it'll be on the screen for the next couple slides. This box.com account has all the tech tips that I've written over the last 9 to 10 months on this product line, so you can dig in deeper with that. Wiring of this control module, you'll have the transformer that wires into the first two terminals. It's bringing in 12-volt DC. Make sure you follow polarity with that because it is a DC appliance. The Bell circuit will support up to 700 milliamps of current draw. There is a tech tip available for that you can do a deeper dive into that application. The next two terminals, I'll make one note here because it's in the tech tip. If you're not using a siren, strap it off with a 1K resistor. That's a brown, black, red, gold stripe resistor. Strap it off between bell positive, bell negative.
Hey, Dan, does that resistor come with the package for this, the hardware package?
That's a good question. I believe it does.
It does. It was a trick question.
Yes, it does.
All right, good deal. All right, the core bus wiring. One of the poll questions was about adding keypads or using existing hardwired runs to the existing keypads. The IQ2 platform, IQ2 Plus, and the IQ4 support the Neo hardwired rubber button keypads through the IQ hardwired PowerG module. This is going to wire into the core bus wiring, which is referred to as red, black, yellow, green, and then the module sits on the same connection of red, black, yellow, green. This keypad can be up to 1,000 feet away from the control panel. If you're putting this in that type of application, I'd love to talk to you about it, but it will support up to 1,000-foot runs on the core bus. There's a tech tip on that as well. This is new to the 4.1 IQ4s and the 1.2 IQ hardwired PowerG module that we can now add up to 4 zone expanders, hardwiring up to 8 zones per zone expander. So each one of the translators will support up to 40 total zones, as Patrick mentioned earlier, and you can have up to 2 of the translators into an IQ4 platform. This too resides on the core bus, red, black, yellow, green. Here are the two cabinets side by side. If you're using the smaller cabinet, you can put in 2 zone expanders. They reside next to the battery. They slide in to the platform. It gets a little tight, so just be aware of that. Here's the larger enclosure that we have now, these zone expanders in a flat orientation. When you install your 4th zone expander down here in the corner, that is at an angle. Just be aware of that. It doesn't lay down flat. It has to do with how much room was allocated and the foot, the tab down here to secure the bottom of the cabinet. So just be aware of that. It does sit at an angle. If you're interested in the size of this can, you can refer here. So roughly 8 by 9 and 11 by 15-ish inches. And then you can convert that to metric. The IQ4 and the updated 1.2 version of the IQ hardwired PowerG module will support a 1 amp power supply. So this is the Neo's HSM 2300. And this wires into the core bus as well. So within 1,000 feet of the control panel, you can now have extra power for whatever you want to do with it. Extra power using PGMs to trigger more sirens, power for motions, glass breaks, whatever you might need extra power for on this application. You can now support that through the 2300. This will give you 1 amp of supervised power, and it is supervised for AC and DC on the system. So if the power supply goes down for some reason, the panel is supervising that information. PGMs, the next 4 terminals here are your Pgm outputs. Pgm stands for programmable, where we have Pgm 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they will follow system events and zone activity. There's a bunch of different options in programming and some enhancements to the IQ4 4.1 and the Translator 1.2 module has some new PGM types available. There is a tech tip on the general operation of PGMs available. And this would be the typical wiring of a PGM using a relay, for example. So AUX positive to the relay, PGM as a negative to the relay, and then you can utilize the normally open, common, and normally closed terminals for your application. Or you could put a sounder directly to it. PGM1, for example, will offer you 50 milliamps of current draw. PGM2 is up to 300, and PGM3 and 4 will provide 50 milliamp current draws as well. If you need to go beyond those current draws, we look at this application now to supplement power through that Form C relay. Or maybe it's an LED for annunciation to tell the customer that the system is armed, or some other functionality, whatever it might be. So we can do all sorts of things with the PGMs and trigger off of that. Zone inputs, this is the hardwired zone expansion module for the IQ platform. So here we're wiring a door contact into zone 1, for example. It will support normally open, normally closed, single end, and double end align applications. Here's an example of a normally closed switch with a single end align. Might have, you can also review the tech tip that I wrote regarding end of line. You might also have powered devices, glass breaks, motions. This is how we would wire that functionality into the system, where we take AUX positive and negative, support the powered device, and then wire into the zone and common using our specified end align. There are 2 AUX positives on this system. So AUX 1 is designed for PowerG applications, non-life safety, and AUX 2 is reserved for life safety devices like smoke detectors or carbon detectors. Here's the wiring of a 2-wire smoke loop that we might have in the application. This is cross-listed with the system sensor smoke detectors, so you can review that in the installation manual. But here's how we would typically wire that 2-wire smoke detector loop using AUX positive 2 and PGM number 2 as the negative. PGM 2 is then converted in programming to be 2-wire smoke loop. This circuit will provide up to 90 milliamps of current draw when it's utilized as 2-wire smoke. And there is a tech tip that I wrote back in August that will give you details on that application. 4-wire smoke detectors, a little bit more complicated, but we can wire 4-wire smokes in. 4-wire smokes do not require cross-listing, so we can support any 4-wire smoke detector in the application. This gets a little messy in the drawing, but we can look at the tech tip from January and review the installation of that. With the power supply now available in the IQ hardwired PowerG module, we can now support the COSMOD application from System Sensor, giving us the capability of supporting extra power and that reversing relay functionality. Look for an upcoming tech tip on that. If you need to support more power through that power supply, this is how we would do it. We'd use one of the PGMs to trigger that relay and then supplement power to the smoke detector loop through the power supply, the HSM 2300. So hopefully that will give you some idea as to how we can add power into that loop in the application. Pat, you want to cover who, where, why, and when?
Yeah, if you want to just pull that up, I mean, obviously, this is really good for a lot of applications. Could be residential. You can do your burglary, fire, carbon monoxide. Commercial, obviously, that's a big up and coming thing for us. We want to make sure you realize that this can be used for those burglary applications commercially. Where existing construction, new construction, literally everywhere this can be utilized, and you can tie it in with PowerG sensors that are completely wireless to supplement and add on to that system. Why would you want to do it? Could be to take over an existing system. Maybe you want to add Hardwire siren support, Hardwired keypad support to put it out in a different partition. It does support all of that, or hardwired smoke detector loops. It's a really good opportunity for you to be able to do more things as a dealer. So essentially, when can you do it? You can do it now. Any IQ4 running 4.1.0 coupled with the wired to wireless module that's running version 1.2 is fully capable of doing all of that today. You know, we do have a lot of different materials. Dan put that up in the chat with the QR code for you. You can also go to our website, download data sheets, any information that you need in order to be able to get more data. His tech tips, don't lose that tech tips link there at the bottom, as well as the installation manual. Great resources and tools to be able to install this effectively and efficiently. And then, you know, how do you get more help if you need to? I think that's the next one, Dan. Yep, perfect. Thank you. You can email tech support at Qolsys.com, or you can reach them by phone. Phone number's there. Make sure that you guys have gotten registered on that dealers.Qolsys.com. All of those resources are right there on the website as well for you to easily download. Well, it looks like, I think that's our last slide, isn't it, Dan? What questions and answers have popped in there, Neil?
Well, that's great job, guys. I'm very impressed you made it through that quick. There was one question I think we just need to clarify, but it was, you know, are the zones and PGMs partitionable on the IQ Hardwire PowerG?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Both applications you can go in and edit. For zones, you simply, as you load either the first 8 or the next set of zones in the zone expander, you go into the edit of the programming and you edit that for how you would edit a standard wireless zone. And you can partition that out. When you create a PGM rule, and you can review that in the tech tip, but the PGMs, depending on the type, you can have multiple reactions to the PGM. So I could have it follow lots of different zones if I wanted to have a buzzer specifically following a couple of zones here or there. But you can also partition that in some applications where partitioning would be of value, like siren output or command output, things of that nature. So fully partitionable, I guess I'll say based on what type of PGM you're using.
All right, that makes sense. Mark, Joel, were there any questions that I missed? I don't think there was anything outstanding.
There was a call that just, a question just came in asking about polling loops and or addressable modules. So that will be coming up in a future release of a product we're going to be calling IQ Pro, but using the same technology that's been shared with you today.
Somebody wants you to go back one slide. I think they want to take down some information from the screen. There you go. So there was a question of how many wired keypads can you install? So, you know, it is 2 per module. You know, currently it's 2 per module. You're allowed 2 modules per panel, so up to 4. You know, the main limitation there is power, right? So now that we've released version 1.2 and 4.1 firmware for the IQ4, you can realistically now, you know, support more than 2, right? You can realistically put 4 keypads on each module as long as you have the power supply there as well. So hopefully that answers that question.
Real quick, Neil, one other thing I was going to mention to everybody that we didn't get on our PowerPoint today was, and one of your poll questions that you had launched was in regards to DLS5. So in order to get that, you would want to make sure you register on dsc.com as a security professional. That way you guys are able to get that software downloaded. And Dan's Tech Tips, he does have a really great guide in that collection that walks you through how to get that update applied if you have one that's older and you want to add some additional features.
No, that's a great point.
look for the box.com, and there's instructions on how to download the software. Also instructions on how to update that module to 1.2. So if my computer behaves here, we'll pull dsc.com and show you where that's at.
All right, we need to order you a new laptop, my friend.
I think so. Well, it may not come to you here. Turn off some of these sources. Any questions out there if this will pull up in time? But if you go to dsc.com and go down to the register as a dealer, which is the upper right-hand corner, there's a login. And then down in the quick links, here we go. So up here, register.
So while you're doing that, somebody did ask the question. So again, so how many can I install? So again, you can, it's a limit of 2 of the IQ Hardwire PowerG modules per panel, right? So you can have 2, but with, you know, the expansion capabilities that Pat and Dan talked about, you know, that's up to 80 hardwired zones using the zone expanders out of those 2 modules. So 2 modules is the limit per panel.
So here is the download software underneath the quick links. And as you put that, you can scroll down to the file DLS5 v1.741NA is the current file. So execute that, and that will download the software into your computer. And then to connect to the panel, you want to order a PC Link USB to make the hard connection cable into the IQ Hardwired PowerG module, or any other panel that supports the DLS5 software.
Well, we got 2 minutes left. One more question came in, Dan. Is this translator compatible with the current Power Series Neo or Power Series Pro?
It is not currently part of that package. As Mark Buckley mentioned here a little bit ago, we will be introducing the IQ Pro panel, and within that platform, which is the next generation of the Neo Pro, it will adapt into that platform. So look to that in the future. It will be coming into that style, that traditional hardwired style application under the IQ Pro.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about IQ Pro, which nobody should be, we shouldn't be talking about this so much, but if anybody wants to know about IQ Pro, we'll see you at ISC. Come by ISC, come by our booth, and you'll be able to get a sneak peek of IQ Pro. So guys, great job. You know, we'll end on time, which is awesome. So as a reminder to everybody, we do have an after workshop survey. We just want your feedback, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would love to see more of. You know, what subjects you want us to cover. I mean, that feedback is, you know, that feedback's, you know, key for us. You know, these webinars are for you, and you know, we want to make sure that we're giving you content that, you know, you're looking for, and that's, you know, that you're wanting to learn more about. So please do fill out that survey. We'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week. We'll be talking about perimeter protection, right? And one of those cool things that we'll be showing next week is the new PowerG Optex beams. So we have we've partnered with Optex, and we have some amazing beams that are coming to market, along with some other devices that are, you know, very good from a perimeter protection standpoint. So again, everybody, you know, thanks for joining. You know, we really appreciate everybody's attendance, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.